July the 3rd, 2017, Monday.
In the 20th century, hundreds of different kinds of animals have disappeared from the wild. This is the story of one of them. A passenger pigeon, just like all the other pigeons, except perhaps prettier than most, with a slate blue back and pale red breast. It had a different call from other pigeons. Instead of cooing, it shrieked, chattered and clucked. But the passenger pigeons were probably more numerous than any other bird that ever existed, so their collective sound was a cacophony. When the screaming flocks of passenger pigeons flew over the North American forests, They blocked out the sun. In fact, they looked more like tornadoes than birds. They traveled as great rolling cylinders of sound and feathers, sometimes 15 kilometers long and 2 kilometers wide. James J. Audubon, the famous American bird artist, estimated that one flock he saw contained 2 billion pigeons flying at 98 kilometers an hour. For many people, it summed up America. In terms of sheer abundance, no one had ever seen anything like it anywhere else. As luck would have it, the early settlers found that the passenger pigeon was also very good to eat. It was this combination of food and plenty that made the bird an American symbol. Everything about this new continent was prolific. Distances seemed to stretch ahead forever. Rivers teemed with fish. There were ample forests to provide enough houses to resettle the whole of Europe, if Europe wanted to come. But as the limitless forests were felled, potential farmland was lost too. A formerly unmapped wilderness could be very speedily transformed into a hub of civilization as settlers built houses and roads. Even the vast distances could be conquered by new forms of transport. But the new Americans only needed to look up to see that nothing would ever really change. The sky-darkening passenger pigeons were still there, in flocks so thick you could knock them out of the air with poles. Or there were much more effective methods. Without even having to aim, you could shoot them in their hundreds and thousands. Millions even, as they were slaughtered and sent by rail to help feed the growing populations of the big cities of the East. By the 1860s, surprisingly enough, their numbers had begun to dwindle, though no one seemed to notice. The birds were smoked out of trees, netted or baited with whiskey-soaked grain. Day-long shooting contests were held, and one man claimed a prize for shooting 60,000 birds. After all, they're not too difficult to pluck. Sometimes they were captured alive and used as targets in shooting galleries. By the 1880s, the only place where passenger pigeons still abounded was in the state of Michigan. Even though well aware of the danger, one Michigan hunter still exported 3 million in a year. And then, very quickly, the passenger pigeons were gone. It's now thought that large numbers were necessary for their survival. There couldn't just be a few passenger pigeons. The last one was seen and shot in 1900. The last captive one, a female named Martha, died in 1914 in Cincinnati Zoo. Her death was reported in all the nation's newspapers, and Americans are still asking themselves, what happened to the rest?